The sky is a bruise, purple and swollen, bleeding into the gray churn of waves below. A low rumble builds, not thunder, but something mechanical, inexorable. 800 miles from American soil, 300 B-17 flying fortresses slice through the mist like iron ghosts, their four engines growling in unison. Schweinfurt and Regensburg wait on the horizon, ball-bearing factories, the Reich's mechanical heart. But today, the heart will stutter. But trailing behind, almost forgotten in the haze, a squadron of silver arrows, P-38 lightnings. Twin booms like praying mantis arms, engines thrumming with borrowed power. Slung beneath their bellies, bulbous drop tanks. External fuel, jury-rigged from factory rejects, tested in secret over the Atlantic. They shouldn't be here. Range was the American Achilles heel. Yet here they are, ghosts in the dawn, pushing deeper. Finnegan glances starboard, catches a glint. Lightnings? Christ, they're coming all the way. The formation crosses the Dutch coast. No opposition yet. Just the winds howl, the slipstreams bite. Below, Frisian farms huddle like frightened children. The bombers tighten, bomb bays armed. Schweinfurt gleams ahead, a spiderweb of rail and smoke. Adolf Galland, 31, inspector of fighters for the Luftwaffe, stands on a windswept tarmac. His uniform is crisp, iron cross pinned like a scar. Cigar clamped between teeth, he squints at the operations board. Chalk-scrawled vectors, raid paths plotted in hasty lines. Reports trickle in from spotters. Heavy formation, northwest approach, escorts confirmed at border. His aides bustle, teletypes clacking like distant gunfire. But Galland's eyes linger on a memo from JG2. Enemy fighters observed with auxiliary tanks. Persistent. Auxiliary tanks, the words gnaw. He's seen the intelligence. Ultra-decrypts smuggled through neutral channels. Whispers from captured pilots. The Americans are experimenting, extending range like a noose tightening. But Göring's briefings dismiss it. Fairy tales from frightened boys. Galland exhales smoke, watches it coil into the chill. If they're wrong, we bleed. If they're right, a staff car crunches gravel. Major Egon climbs out, helmet under arm, face etched with the previous night's sortie. 5 kills, but his wingmen gone to flak. General, Mayer says, saluting sharply. Oberpfalz reports visual. Bombers splitting, one group for Regensburg, the rest pressing Schweinfurt. Escorts, they're not turning. Galland's cigar pauses mid-drag. How many? 2 squadrons at least. P-38s, they're carrying extra fuel. The general nods, once. No surprise in his eyes, only the quiet weight of confirmation. It begins. He turns to his adjutant. Get the train. Rastenburg, now. The Führer's eastern redoubt. Concrete bunkers burrowed into pine forests, a fortress of damp stone and electric hum. Guards snap heels on gravel paths. Inside the map room, Hermann Göring sprawls in a leather chair, morphine haze softening his bulk. The Reichsmarschall, once the sky's eagle, now a bloated shadow, morphine for pain, ambition for blindness. Before him, a vast table, Europe splayed in newsprint overlays, pins marking victories long faded. His aides hover, tablets in hand, voices low. A door bangs open. Galland strides in, dust from the road on his boots. No preamble. Herr Reichsmarschall, the raid, it's underway, Schweinfurt and Regensburg, but the escorts. Göring waves a pudgy hand, rings glinting. Laughter bubbles, wet and dismissive. Galland, my dear inspector, always the worrier. The Americans turn back as always. Their tanks are tin cans, good for show, not for war. Galland steps closer, unfolding a crumpled intercept. Ink spots from hasty annotation. No, sir. JG-26 reports P-38s crossing the Ruhr. Drop tanks. They're committing fully. If we scramble the usual interceptors... Drop tanks? Göring's brow furrows, then smooths into scorn. He rises, metals clinking like loose change. Impossible. Their range doesn't allow it. It's a feint, a rumor to scatter us. The Führer agrees. Our flak will shred the bombers, and their fighters will watch from afar. Impossible. The word hangs, not as fact, but fiat. Galland feels it settle, heavy as wet wool. He's argued this before in Berchtesgaden salons over schnapps with aces like Mulders. Range is math, not myth. Fuel, wind, load, they've solved it. But here in this room of gilt eagles and faded glory, math bends to will. Sir, the loss ratios, enough. Göring straightens his collar, glances at the clock. His train awaits, Berlin calls, or perhaps Karenhall's featherbeds. Scramble as planned. Hit the bombers hard. The escorts will falter. He claps Galland's shoulder, a patronizing pat. Trust in the Luftwaffe, Galland. We own the skies. Galland salutes, crisp. Trust in denial. As Göring sweeps out, aides trailing like courtiers, the general lingers. unfolds the intercept again. Numbers: 147 bombers inbound, 60 escorts minimum. Projections: 20% attrition if unescorted, 40% with persistent fighters. We lose the math today, we lose the war tomorrow. The sky erupts. Tracer rounds stitch the blue, flak bursts blooming black like funeral pyres. B-17s jink, engines trailing oil smoke. Below, Schweinfurt's factories huddle under camouflage nets, workers frozen mid-shift. Luftwaffe Mi-109s swarm from hidden fields, veterans like Mayer, diving from the sun, cannons spitting fury. But the P-38s uncoil, drop tanks jettisoned, tumbling earthward like fallen stars. Finnegan banks left, 50 caliber chattering. A 109 shreds mid-climb, pilot ballooning out in silk. Gotcha. Yet the Germans press, desperate math of their own. Outnumber, outgun, but green against green. Mayer's swarm tears through a straggler fortress, debris raining like confetti. But as he pulls up, a lightning ghosts his tail. Finnegan's guns, silent witness. Galland, patched through from a forward command post, hears the radio crackle. Eagle 1, bandits with range, they're everywhere. Static swallows the plea. He grips the headset, voice steady. Vector to bombers, ignore the escorts, press the attack. Lies we tell the dying. By afternoon, the bombers limp home, 60 lost, factories scarred but beating. The P-38s, tanks empty, turn for England. Mission accomplished, proof in the sky, blood on the clouds. Mayer lands at his field, propeller nicked, face ashen, 3 of his 8 gone. He climbs from the cockpit, smells cordite and fierce sweat. They didn't turn back. Steam hisses from Göring's private train, a steel serpent idling under pines. Porters load crates, champagne perhaps, or morphine vials. The Reichsmarschall emerges from the bunker, coat billowing, aids at heel. Laughter echoes, a joke about Yankee scrap metal. Galland's car screeches to halt. He vaults out, boots pounding boards. Herr Reichsmarschall, wait! Göring pauses at the carriage door, silhouette against lantern glow. Galland, what now? The raid's done. Victory, as predicted. No, sir. Galland thrusts forward a fresh flimsy, JG-2 after action. Casualties: 22 interceptors down, the P-38s engaged over the targets, full commitment. Extended range confirmed, drop tanks observed. The platform falls silent but for the locomotive's impatient chuff. Göring's face hardens, jowls quivering. He snatches the paper, scans, crumples it in a meaty fist. This is hysteria, exaggeration from shaken pilots. The Americans haven't the fuel, the tech, the nerve. His voice rises, a command wrapped in certainty. It's impossible, Galland. Report it as such. No more of this nonsense. Impossible. Not a doubt, but an edict. Galland stands rigid, the East Prussian wind tugging his collar. I've seen the prototypes. Our own failed. They succeeded where we stalled. Sir, if we adapt, retrain for deep penetration, bolster flak. Göring boards, door slamming like a guillotine. Adapt to fairy tales? The Luftwaffe bends for no one. A whistle blows. The train jerks forward, wheels grinding iron. Through the window, Göring's face floats, stern, unyielding. Dismiss it, Galland. That's an order. The general watches taillights fade into twilight, steam curling like unanswered questions. Unnamed analysts in Berlin basements will file the report under anomaly. Mayer will fly again tomorrow, chasing ghosts. Finnegan, across the channel, will clean his guns and wonder at the cost. One word, Galland thinks, grinding his cigar under heel. One word and the math changes. But orders are the Luftwaffe's oxygen, breathe denial or suffocate. A Spartan room. Maps pinned to walls, a half-empty bottle of cognac. Galland sits at a scarred desk, lamp casting long shadows. Before him, a ledger, columns of names, sorties, fates, chalk dust from erased tallies. He dips a pen, inks a note. Recommend tactical review, enemy escort persistence. The pen hovers, they won't read it. Outside, crickets saw the dark. Somewhere, a radio murmurs BBC, code for another raid prepped. He seals the envelope, for Göring's desk, to gather dust. But the sky didn't listen to orders, and the impossible was already there. Rain lashes the Normandy coast, turning the world to slate and mud. Inside a Quonset hut, bowed under the weight of Atlantic gales, a dozen pilots huddle around a trestle table. Kerosene lamps sputter, casting jittery shadows on yellowed maps. The air reeks of wet wool, machine oil, and the faint, acrid tang of unwashed fear. Major Egon Mayer paces the head, pointer wrapping a grease-penciled arc over the channel. His eyes, sharp as shrapnel, flick to the blackboard. Sortie 147, losses 3 aches. Enemy escorts persistent. Listen up, Mayer says, voice gravel over silk. Yankees hit the U-boat pens at La Police yesterday. Thunderbolts again, but deeper this time. P-38s shadowed the heavies, dropped tanks over the beach, fought like devils to the target. He taps the map. Brest, Lorient, the Atlantic wall's underbelly. Galland's word, expected every raid now. No more border tango, they come all the way. A young lieutenant, face boyish under stubble, shifts. But Reichsmarschall says... Mayer's pointer cracks the board like a whip. The Reichsmarschall says what keeps him warm. Up there, we fight what's real. Murmurs ripple. Nods from veterans, doubt from the new blood. Mayer's got 60 kills, thinks Lieutenant Karl Weiss 19, fresh from the Eastern Front's meat grinder. If he says ghosts are real, I load extra ammo. Outside, wind howls through guy wires. Somewhere in the murk, engines cough to life. Another patrol, chasing shadows. The Luftwaffe High Command, a neoclassical husk scarred by Allied pokes, corridors echoing with boot heels and the clatter of Enigma wheels. Galland's sanctum is a foxhole in the pump, filing cabinets bulging with intercepts, a captured Spitfire propeller mounted like a warning. He hunches over a ledger, fountain pen scratching columns. September raids 12 engagements. Escort penetrations 9 losses. 47 aircraft, 32 pilots. Experience attrition 28%. The numbers stare back, merciless. Each digit a name. Miller from JG-26, vaporized over Emden. Hartmann's wingman, chute tangled in flak. Patterns, Galland thinks, rubbing temples where a migraine blooms. Like weather, predictable if you look. He cross-references ultra-leaks smuggled via Swiss couriers. American drop tank production ramped to 5,000 units monthly. Math doesn't lie, but orders do. A knock. Enter Johannes Steinhoff, 32, staff officer and tactician, uniform tailored sharp as his mind. Scar from Libya tugs his cheek in perpetual half-smile. General, the latest from JG-3. Yesterday's sweep over Wilhelmshaven, P-47s turned at the Ruhr, but lightnings pressed home. Mayer's squadron tangled with them, lost 2. Galland doesn't look up. Mayer's report? Steinhoff slides a folder across the desk. Ink smeared flimsy, margins crammed with sketches, tank silhouettes, vector traces. He recommends head-on attacks, high-altitude intercepts, conserve fuel for the bombers. A pause, heavy as unsaid oaths. He asks, why no changes from command? Because truth is treason. Galland flips pages, notes the tally. Kills 4 bombers, losses 5 fighters. The ledger grows unbalanced, a scale tipping toward abyss. Draft a memo to Göring. Escalate training, simulated deep escorts, fuel conservation drills. Steinhoff hesitates, blue eyes probing. Sir, the last 3, they vanished into the circular file. Then make this one louder. Galland seals it, wax dripping like blood, louder until the echo wakes them. Deep under the Reichsluftfahrt Ministerium, fluorescent tubes buzz over steel desks. Unnamed analysts, ghosts in wire rims and frayed cuffs, hunch over calculators and graph paper. Smoke coils from ashtrays heaped like battlefield dead. Frau Keller, 40s, chain-smoking Fraulein with ink-stained fingers, punches keys. Range extension probability, 87%. Based on observed tank capacity, 200 gallons auxiliary. Her colleague, Herr Lutz, balding and bespectacled, overlays maps. Red pins for raid paths, blue for intercepts. If they scale this, Mustang's next, rumor says, our Jaguar bleeds out by spring. He traces a line from East Anglia to the Ruhr, 400 miles one way. Possible. Primitive. A runner bursts in, breathless, from inspectorate. Bury the P-38 addendum. Reichsmarschall's directive, anomalies not to alarm higher echelons. Keller's cigarette pauses. Higher echelons sleep in silk. She stamps the file. Classified, negligible. The drawer slides shut, a coffin lid. Outside sirens wail, a probe raid, testing the night. The industrial heartland, chimneys belching defiance, rivers like veins of molten steel. 200 B-17s drub the skies, contrails feathering white against the rose dawn. Escorts peel in, P-38s sleek as sharks, tanks glinting before the jettison. Below, JG-2 scrambles from Gilsa region. Mayer leads throttle fire walling his 109G. Come on, you bastards, show me your range. Radios crackle. Bandits at Angels 20, bearing 270. They climb, sun at backs, diving like falcons on pigeons. Contact, a lightning 6 o'clock low. Mayer breaks left, cannons barking. Tracers whip past, stitching the American's wing. The P-38 rolls, returns fire, 50 cals chewing air. Collision inevitable. Metal screams, a 109 spins earthward, chute blooming late. 1 down. Finnegan, vectored in from the fortress wing, spots the melee. His lightning hums, Allison engines singing. Krauts are good, too good. He leads a swarm of 4, diving on Mayer's tail. Guns sink, a storm of lead. Mayer jinks, but a round finds home. Hydraulics severed, cockpit glazing with fuel mist. Mayer punches out at 5,000 feet, harness biting shoulders. Wind rips his goggles as the chute deploys, yanking him into the void. Below, the Ruhr smokes from last night's pounding. Not today, he thinks, tasting blood, but soon. He drifts toward enemy lines, a leaf in the gale. Radio silence, no rescue, just the weight. The Reichsmarschall's opulent pile, marble halls, tapestries looted from Paris salons. Servants glide with silver trays, morphine syringe hidden in crystal decanter guise. Göring lolls on a divan, robe loose over paunch, reviewing dispatches through a haze. Aides murmur, Schweinfurt again, Herr Reichsmarschall, losses mounting. He snorts, waving a fan of reports. Exaggerations. The Führer demands optimism. One paper catches, Galland's memo, flagged urgent, escort persistence, tactical imperative. Göring scans, chuckles wetly. Galland and his arithmetic, as if numbers win wars. He scrawls marginalia, dismiss, focus on production quotas. The ink blots, a Rorschach of refusal. An aide ventures, but the aces, Meyer downed over the Ruhr, Steinhoff's projections. Enough. Göring rises, metals swaying. The Luftwaffe is invincible. These impossibles are morale saboteurs. He rings for music. Wagner, to drown the doubt. The memo joins the fire, flames lick edges, curling truth to ash. Moonlight shafts through blackout curtains silvering the desk. Galland pores over telegrams, Mayer captured, interrogation pending. JG2 at 60% strength. He graphs it, lines plunging like Stukas in a dive. October, 112 sorties, 68 losses. November projection, unsustainable. Steinhoff enters unannounced, coat dripping rain. General, the analyst's summary, you won't like it. He spreads charts, exponential curves, red ink bleeding. If escorts hold, we exhaust veterans by Christmas. Replacements, boys with 20 hours. Galland lights a cigar, smoke veiling his face, boys to feed the math. I've said 3 briefs this month. Göring's replies, slogans, fight harder. Trust the fatherland. Steinhoff leans in, voice low. It's a chain, sir. Analysts to us to him to the Führer. Each link denies the pull. The chain that chokes. Galland stubs the cigar, embers dying, he drafts another. Urgent, reallocate resources, high-altitude interceptors, radar chains, seals it, louder still. But in the hall a clerk pauses, stamps, pending review. The night deepens, sirens fading to echo. Mayer, bandaged and brooding, marches a work detail. Barbed wire hums under frost. Across the compound a downed P-38 pilot, Finnegan's wingman, leg in splints, meets his gaze. No words, just the nod of survivors, tallying invisible scores. Back in France, Weiss straps in for dawn patrol. Engine coughs reluctant life. For Mayer, for the math we don't question. He climbs, vanishing into gray. The ledger swells, another column, another red. Galland stares at the wall. A framed photo of Mulders, gone to Stalingrad's maw. We fight the sky and lose to the men who map it. He closes the book, heavy as judgment. He could predict death with numbers, but not prevent it with truth. Frost-crusted runways gleam under sodium lamps, a lattice of ice and steel. Hangars yawn open, mechanics in sheepskin coats wrestling Merlin engines into sleek fuselages. The P-51 Mustang, a thoroughbred unveiled. Long-nosed predator with laminar wings and 75-gallon drop tanks nestled like hidden daggers. Captain James Finnegan, now with 12 missions under his belt, circles his bird, Old Betsy, nose art a pin-up faded by salt spray. Ground crew chief, grease monkey grin. She's thirsty today, Cap. 500 miles radius, Berlin if you want it. Finnegan nods, zipping his flight suit. Berlin. The Big B. Rumors swirl. 8th Air Force commands green light for deep strikes, Mustangs to glue the bombers all the way. No more turning back, no more leaving the heavies to the wolves. He climbs the ladder, settles into the cockpit, leather creaking, instruments winking alive. Throttle cracks open, the Packard Merlin roars, a lion's yawn. Prop blur, then bite. He taxis, joins the gaggle, 50 Mustangs wheeling up, silver sharks in formation. Briefing echoes in his skull, hit the fighters first. Own the escort game. Finnegan teased the radio. Razor flight, form up. Berlin Express, non-stop. Engines thunder, devouring the dawn. The channel shrinks below, a silver ribbon. This time we don't turn. Concrete womb, lit by the green flicker of feudy radar screens. Operators in headsets murmur vectors, phosphors painting ghosts on glass. Colonel Johannes Steinhoff stands sentinel, arms crossed, watching blips coalesce. Heavy formation, 250 miles out, bearing 090. Escorts. Negative contact. He adjusts his scarf. Libya's sand still grits the weave, and glances at the teletype. Galland memo number 17. Anticipate Mustang integration. Range 1,000 miles combat. The door hisses open. Galland enters, greatcoat dusted with Autobahn snow, briefcase heavy with fresh ledgers. His face, lines etched deeper, cigar unlit like a spent fuse. Status? Steinhoff salutes crisp. Clear so far, General, but JG-1's on alert. Austin reports unusual activity over the wash. If it's the new one. Galland spreads charts on the plot table. Blue arcs for Mustang radii, overlapping the Reich like veins. It is. Intelligence confirms. North American rolled out 200 last month. Laminar flow, low drag. Our 109s can't match the legs. He traces a line to the capital. They'll probe Berlin, test us. A junior officer ventures. Reichsmarschall's latest, counter with spirit, not spreadsheets. No new deployments. Galland's jaw tightens. Spirit fills graves. Alert the Kamhuber line, double few MG patrols, and get me a line to Göring, now. The Mustangs uncoil from the bomber stream, a loose lasso around the B-17's thunder. Finnegan leads his element high, contrails feathering like breath on glass. Below, the formation plods, 300 heavies, bellies full of fragmentation. Target, Oschersleben, aircraft plants, Messerschmitt's cradle. Radars ping them late, Luftwaffe nets tangled in jamming chaff. Me-110 destroyers rise from cloud base, twin engines straining, but the Mustangs are there first, diving from 30,000 feet, .50 cals stitching the sky. A 110 erupts, wings folding like paper. Finnegan pulls through, G-forces pinning him, spots a 109 on a Fortress's 6. Not today. He rolls in, triggers a burst, canopy shatters, the German bails out, tumbling into white. Chaos blooms, dogfight knots, twisting vapor trails. Radios howl in German, Rote Teufel, Mustangs unmöglich. Steinhoff, patched from the bunker, hears it crackle. Enemy fighters everywhere, range like eagles. He grips the mic, press the bombers, ignore the shadows. Lies we sell to the living. By noon the raid scars the earth. Factories gutted, runways pocked. Mustangs low on fuel peel off, homeward bound. Losses, 12 bombers, 18 fighters. But the Germans, 38 down, aces among them. Finnegan lands at Debden, tires smoking, adrenaline crash hitting like morphine. Debrief, they never saw us coming, like ghosts with teeth. Opulence curdled, silk drapes drawn against the gray, a samovar hissing on ebony sideboard. Hermann Göring, slumped in velvet, injects a bolus, needle glint, sigh of relief. Aides cluster, dispatches in hand. The phone jangles, insistent as a heartbeat. Galland, the general's voice, tinny through the line. The raid, Oschersleben, Mustangs confirmed, full escort to the target, losses, disproportionate, we need. Göring interrupts syrupy. Mustangs? Bah, propaganda birds, their range is a myth, like the rest. He glances at a wall map, pins askew. The Führer was briefed, American production lags, it's P-47s with tricks. No, sir. Galland's tone steals. Eyewitness, low-wing monoplane, inline engine. Speed, 400 knots clean. They owned the fight. Pause, waited. This changes everything. Retrain for long-range intercepts. Prioritize jets, Me-262 prototypes, or we lose the West. Laughter forced. Jets for fairy tales? Galland, you're my best brain, but this... defeatism. Göring's finger hovers over the cradle. Report victories, not visions. The Luftwaffe adapts to threats, not phantoms. Click, line dead. Galland in the bunker stares at the receiver, echo of silence. Steinhoff watches, unspoken, isolation's bite. Sir? File it. Galland turns to the board, erases a tally, inks anew. Mustang engagements, 1 losses, 38, 1 raid, 1 fracture, low ceilings, cigarette fog thick as resolve. Officers cluster at linen-draped tables, aces with Ritterkreuzen dangling like alibis, staff weasels nursing ersatz coffee. Galland enters, nods curt, monocle glints, a cyclops eye. He takes a corner booth, Steinhoff sliding in opposite. A waiter pours schnapps, amber and crystal. They're whispering. Steinhoff says, low, your memos? Galland's ghosts. Command calls it hysteria. Göring's circle, they say you're undermining morale. Galland sips, fire down the throat. Undermining? I'm the only pillar left. Let them whisper. Facts don't care for whispers. He unfolds a napkin sketch. Mustang profile, annotated thrust vectors turn radii. See here. Better high-altitude performance. Our Gs can't climb with them. We need altitude advantage. FW-190s stripped for speed. Steinhoff traces the lines. Brilliant, but who listens? The analysts bury it. Göring burns it. You're alone up there, General. Alone. The word lands like flak. Galland recalls Mulder's last letter. Truth is the pilot's compass. Now, compass spins wild. A major at the next table leans in, voice slurred. Heard you chased P-38s with math? What's next? Astrology for Mustangs? Laughter ripples, brittle. Galland meets the man's eyes, calm as permafrost. Math saved your wingman over Dieppe. Pray it saves the next. Silence falls, heavy. The major shrinks back. Steinhoff exhales. Isolation breeds enemies. Enemies we can fight, Galland murmurs. Blindness we can't. Searchlights rake the clouds, flak batteries cough preamble. A Pathfinder mosquito slips through, markers blooming red over Tempelhof. Sirens wail, civilians burrow. In his apartment, Galland stands at the window, blackout blind cracked. Below, the city hunkers, domes and spires, a crown of thorns. A knock, an aide pale. Telegram, sir. From JG-54. Mustangs sweep over Hanover. 5 kills, no losses, they're calling it Galland's prophecy. He nods, dismisses. Alone again, he lights the cigar, flame steady. Prophecy, curse. The ledger waits on the desk, pages multiplying. He adds, December 5 raids, escort dominance, 80%, veterans remaining 42%. Graphs plummet, a death spiral in ink. Mayor, repatriated on a cartel flight, sits across from an American major. Finnegan's Theo, briefing captured intel. No torture, just tea and questions. Your General Galland, the major says. He warned them. Why didn't they listen? Mayor sips bitter. Because listening admits defeat. He sketches a Mustang from memory, crude lines on napkin. Tell your pilots, the sky's big, but not big enough for denial. Sleep evades. Galland paces, floorboards creaking like old bones. Radio hums low, BBC murmur, code for tomorrow's hammer. He drafts memo number 18, imperative, jet transition. Enemy range supremacy confirmed, delay is attrition. Seals it, stamps urgent. Will it reach? He imagines the chain, aide to clerk, clerk to shredder. Isolation coils tighter, a noose of solitude. Outside, flat cracks, a probe, a promise. The war's pulse, quickening. By the time they believed him, the sky was already theirs. The Reich's capital, a cauldron of steel and fire, spires clawing at the underbelly of clouds. 500 B-17s and Lancasters carve the dawn. A steel avalanche bound for aircraft works. Arado, Heinkel, the Luftwaffe's forge. Escorts blanket the horizon, Mustangs in wolf pack loose, P-38s flanking like hounds. Captain James Finnegan, Mustang at full throttle, scans the blue, contrails like scars from yesterday's wounds. Big week, they call it, our week. His squadron ghosts high, Merlins purring at 42,000 feet. Drop tanks shed like old skin over the Elbe. Below, the response, a ragged swarm of 109s and 190s, fuel-starved and pilot-thin. JG-7 scrambles from Gatow, engines wheezing on synthetic slop. Radios scream, Mustangs at 12 o'clock high, Angels 25. They climb, desperate ladders into the sun, but the Mustangs own the perch. Finnegan rolls in first, diving like judgment, 50s raking a 190s canopy. Glass shatters, fuel blooms orange. The German spins, chute fouling in the slipstream. 1. No time for mercy. Another swarm bores in low. He pulls up, G-suit cinching, loops back. The sky fractures, vapor trails knotting into nooses, tracers lacing the void. A Mustang shreds mid-turn, pilots scream cut short by static. But the math tilts allied, Germans fall in strings, 5-1. Factories burn below, ball bearings melting in infernos. By noon, the formation withdraws, bombers mauled but mission flown. Finnegan peels east, low on ammo, fuel needle flirting red. We own it now. Their skies just rent. Glass crunches underfoot, windows blown from last night's raid, shards like frozen rain. The conference room, a tomb of oaken maps, air thick with cordite and defeat. Göring presides from a raised dais, face sallow under morphine glow, uniform unbuttoned over girth. Flunkies cluster. Milch, Udit's ghost in absentia. Galland stands at the foot, ledger in hand, monocle fogged from the chill. Steinhoff flanks him, silent sentinel, notes clenched like a rosary. Report. Göring snaps, voice a whip crack. Galland steps forward, unfolds charts, red lines plummeting, bars halved. Big week, day 3, 214 intercepts launched. Losses, 187 aircraft, 142 pilots. Enemy bombers, 20 escorts, negligible attrition. He pauses, lets numbers breathe. Our Jagdwaffe is eviscerated. Replacements, 15 hours average. We can't sustain. Murmurs ripple. Nods from realists, scowls from loyalists. Göring's fist thumps the table, metals jangling. Eviscerated, hyperbole, Galland. The Führer sees victories in spirit and resolve. He waves a dispatch. Himmler's flattery, Goebbels' spin. Your math breeds panic. It's defeatist, treasonous even. Steinhoff stiffens. Treason for truth. Galland doesn't flinch. Sir, it's arithmetic. Mustangs rule the high ground. Our tactics, doctrinaire unchanged, feed them kills. I propose, consolidate veterans into a special unit. Me-262 jets, operational now. Arm them for interceptor role, not bomber. It's our only asymmetry. Göring rises, bulk casting shadow. Jets, wonderkind toys delayed by your pessimism. Laughter, forced from aides. You've warned of impossibles since Schweinfurt. P-38s, Mustangs, now this. Enough. The Luftwaffe needs fighters, not prophets of doom. Galland meets his gaze, steel on silk. Prophets die first, Herr Reichsmarschall, but ignore them, and the flock follows. The room stills, a colonel shifts, Steinhoff's pen scratches urgent. Stand down. But Göring's face purples, jowls a quiver. Insolence, you're relieved, Galland. Inspectorate stripped. Report to JG-44. Train those damned jets if it salves your conscience. He turns away, dismissing with a flick. Out. All of you. Galland salutes, precise, relieved, as if command were a coat. He gathers papers, Steinhoff trailing. In the corridor, echo of boots on marble. Sir, Steinhoff whispers. JV-44, it's a backwater, suicide watch. Better a grave than a cage, Galland replies, voice low. Demotion, the system's mercy kill. Pine barrens near the Rhine, a forgotten strip of cracked concrete and revetments. Me-262 prototypes huddle in dispersal bays. Swept-wing miracles, Jumo engines like caged thunder. Ground crews swarm, welders sparking, fuel techs cursing synthetic leaks. The air hums with urgency, ozone bite of jet wash. Galland arrives in a battered Kubelwagen, dust-caked, adjutant at wheel. He steps out, cigar lit against the gloaming. Steinhoff waits, helmet under arm. General, the birds, 6 operational. Pilot's aces pulled from the line. Mayor's back from Stalag. Thinks it's madness. Galland surveys the line. Silver fangs, intakes yawning. Madness? Salvation. Show me. They walk the tarmac, boots gritty. A pilot, Oberstleutnant Walter Nowotny, 200 kills, eyes haunted, briefs, thrust, 2,000 kilos each. Climb, 4,000 meters per minute. But landing gear, fragile, and fuel, 20 minutes combat. He gestures to a chalkboard, vectors, fuel curves. Galland's math inherited. Enough, Galland says. We hit bombers on ingress, high-speed passes, no dogfights. Conserve for the kill. Nowotny nods, fire kindling. Nearby, Mayor straps into a cockpit mock-up, scarred hands on stick. Jets. Finally, wings for the truth. Steinhoff pulls Galland aside, voice urgent. Göring's orders. No jets over Berlin. Too valuable for tests. It's sabotage. Sabotage by decree. Galland exhales smoke, watches it fray. Then we improvise. JV-44 isn't a squadron, it's a rebellion. Train them to outrun the noose. England's damp seeps through Nissen hut walls, stove hissing peat. Finnegan sprawls on bunk, flight log open. Big week, 7 kills. Mustangs, uncontested. A letter from home. Kansas wheat, sister's wedding, anchors the page. But sleep brings ghosts. That 109 pilots shoot, snagged and still. His CO knocks, enters with a folder. Captured docs, Luftwaffe after actions. Read this, Jimmy. Their inspector's warnings, guy named Galland. Saw us coming months back, brass ignored him. Finnegan scans, memos yellowed, ink faded, escort persistence, fatal if unaddressed. Tough break, our side listens. The CO nods, grim. Does. But wars eat the seers first. He leaves. Finnegan stares at the rafters, rain drumming. What if they had? Fewer ghosts. Mist clings to the runway like regret. Galland in tower, binoculars to eyes, radio crackling. Nowotny's voice, JV-44, rolling. Gottmidunts. Engines ignite. Blue flame spits, a dragon's cough. The 262 accelerates. Nose lifting, devouring strip in seconds. Airborne, 500 knots, climbing vertical. Galland tracks it, heart steady. Mach 0.8, untouchable. But fuel ticks down, invisible scythe. Nowotny levels at 10,000, banks west, simulated intercept. Radars ghost him, Fug screens blank, then flare. Bandits acquired, he calls. Mock guns, splash 1. Touchdown, gear whines, tires screech. Nowotny taxis in, canopy popping. She flies like God intended, General. Grin cracks his fatigue. Mayor claps his shoulder, Steinhoff logs it. Success rate, 92%. Success rate, 90/10th. But Galland sees the shadow. Supply chains frayed, parts from slave labor. 1 flight, 100 needed. He radios Berlin, JV-44 operational. Request deployment, Ruhr defenses. Reply, denied. Training phase extended. The estate, peacocks strut marble paths, morphine vials glint in lamplight. Göring pores over intel, Allied photos, factories as craters. An aide, Galland's jets, Herr Reichsmarschall. Test flights exceed projections. Göring snorts, injecting. Projections? His hobby. The Führer wants bombers, not experiments. He scrawls order. JV-44, restricted ops, no commitment, the pen scratches, ink bleeding, let him play. The war's won in will. The city smolders, Reichstag dome soot black, Tiergarten ash sifting. B-29s, no, Mustangs strafe stragglers unchallenged. JG-3 remnants limp home, 3 planes from 12. Steinhoff, visiting forward base, counts shoots in fields, too few. He finds a survivor, boy pilot bandaged. They came from nowhere. Jets, we need 'em now. Steinhoff nods, throat tight, now is yesterday. He drives to Reichswald, brief Galland, losses mounting, Göring's holding the leash. Galland, polishing a prop blade, pauses. Then we slip it. He unveils a roster, 20 aces, jets earmarked. JV-44 flies soon, or we all fall. Lamps gutter, maps curl at edges. Galland drafts ops plan, ink flows precise, vectors to bomber streams, fuel intercepts at Angels 30. Steinhoff watches loyal shadow. You're building a legend, sir, from ruins. Legends die young. Galland seals the plan. To Führer bunker, JV-44 ready. Deploy or dissolve. One last impossible. Outside, jets idle, blue ghosts in fog. Mayor dreams of sky. Finnegan, across the water, sharpens teeth. The chain strains, denials links thinning. He built a jet to outrun death, but not the past. The eagle's nest perches like a shattered crown, alpine mists veiling the ruins. Allied columns grind up the switchbacks, Shermans belching diesel, GIs an olive drab, faces slack with victory's hollow weight. The Berghof smolders below, timbers charred, frescoes peeled by fire. Somewhere in the valley, SS holdouts surrender in white rags, rifles tossed like broken promises. Adolf Galland, 33 now, leans on a staff car's fender, uniform threadbare, iron cross dulled by dust. JV-44's jets, his final gambit, lie scattered across Brandenburg fields, strafed to scrap by Mustangs in April's fury. Nowotny gone, vaporized over Sakau. Mayor, wounded again, lost to a hospital bed. Steinhoff, the survivor, idles the engine, eyes on the rear view. American patrols closing. General, we should move. The lines are fluid. Galland nods, absent, fluid as blood. He scans the peaks where Göring once preened, now fled to doom in a meadow crash. The Reichsmarschall's last words, radioed in delirium, fight on, as if words could stem the tide. Impossible, he'd said. And so it proved, not in the skies, but in the silence after. A jeep crests the rise, stars and stripes fluttering. Out spills a major, pipe in teeth, flanked by MPs. General Galland, you're wanted at Schaeff. Intelligence debrief, no rough stuff, just questions. The major extends a hand, gloved. Galland takes it, grip firm. Questions, as if answers remain. The staff car follows the jeep down, pines whispering requiem. Steinhoff glances back. What now, sir? The camps? Galland lights a final cigar, pilfered from a looted villa. Nuremberg, perhaps, or oblivion. Smoke curls, acrid as hindsight. We built jets to chase the dawn, found only dusk. Stone corridors echo with chains and confessions, gas lamps flickering on iron bars. Galland's cell, a monk's cell of damp plaster and straw pallet, a slop bucket's tang. He sits at a crate desk, scribbling memoirs by candle, ink from a guard's fountain pen, paper rationed to foolscap. The first and the last. Not glory but autopsy, Schweinfurt's math, Göring's fiat, the jet's too-late roar. Footsteps halt. A guard, visitor, American officer. The door creaks. In steps James Finnegan, 26, civilian now, trench coat over tweed, hair cropped short, eyes carrying the channel's gray. No uniform, but the poise of a man who's owned the sky. He salutes, loose. Captain Finnegan, no, Mr. Now, 8th Air Force. Mind if I sit? Galland gestures to the crate, candle guttering. As you like, though company here is usually prosecutors. He studies the face, young, but lined, echo of that Ruhr dogfight, P-38 guns flashing. The victor, come to gloat? Finnegan perches, unfolds a pack of Luckies. Offers one, Galland takes, lights from the flame. Inhale, American tobacco, sweet as amnesty. Not gloating, General. Intel section sent me. Your memos captured at Reichswald. Hell of a read. Saw the end coming, clear as contrails. Galland exhales, smoke-veiling judgment. Clear? Then why ask? Finnegan leans in, voice low, conspirators timber. Because I was there, Schweinfurt, 43. P-38s with tanks. You warned Göring on that platform. Rostenburg, right? Train hissing steam. Him calling it impossible. He pulls a yellowed photocopy. Galland's intercept, creased from pockets. This, found it in a JG-2 wreck. Thought you'd want it back. The paper trembles in Galland's hand, ink faded but words sharp. Extended range confirmed. Adaptation imperative. He traces the signature, thumb smudging. Ghost returned. You read German? Enough, and enough English to know denial when I see it. Finnegan's eyes flick to the cell wall. scratched tallies, sortie ghosts. My Thycio showed me your stuff post-war, said you were the one pilot who'd have traded places. Fought smart, not blind. Galland chuckles, dry as dust. Traded? For what? Your ghosts? Smart loses to stubborn. Göring's order wasn't strategy. It was ego armored in rank. Impossible. Became law. We flew by it. Lost mayor to it. Steinhoff scarred by it. Jets came, but late. Too late. Finnegan nods, slow. We lost boys too, but listening, that was our edge. He pauses, pulls a flask. Whiskey, bourbon burn. Offers. Galland sips, fire chasing the cells chill. Ever wonder, if he'd heard you out, retrained early, pushed the jets, what then? The question hangs, heavy as unjettisoned tanks. Galland sets the flask down, candlelight dancing on his monocle. What then? A longer war. Or a different peace. Wars aren't rewritten in cells, Captain, but truths are. August 43, that raid split the sky. P-38s didn't just fly deep, they carved the doubt. Göring laughed. I calculated. By Berlin, the math was merciless. Finnegan traces a scar on his knuckles. Flak grays, 44. Met Mayor in 47. Repatriation exchange. Tough bastard. Said you built JV-44 like a cathedral for the damned. Laughter, shared, brittle. He flies crop dusters now. Argentina, you? Here. Then perhaps a book, or silence. Galland folds the memo, tucks it inside his shirt, talisman against the trials grind. You came for stories? For closure. Finnegan rises, extends hand again. Tell Steinhoff I said hello. And this, skies are big, room for old enemies. Grip lingers, then he's gone, door clanging echo. Galland alone, candle spitting. He resumes writing. Denials cost, not planes, but men who saw the storm and shouted into wind. The pen scratches, relentless. Sun hammers the tarmac, palms swaying like lazy sentries. A fly-in, vintage warbirds, polished aluminum gleaming under Gulf haze. P-51 squat regal, Merlin silent. Mi-109 replicas imported from South Africa draw crowds. Laughter bubbles, aces in polo shirts, name tags pinned like faded crosses. Galland 57, silver at temples, navigates the throng, cigar in hand, wife at arm, elegant in linen. Oberst now honorary. Survivor. Nuremberg acquitted him, witness for the prosecution, Göring's foil in the dock. The book sold, lectures paid. But the pull, skies calling back. A voice, General. Steinhoff 56, broad and beaming, strides up, NATO staff, Berlin desk. They clasp forearms, old oath, you made it, the Luftwaffe booth, 2/62 mock-up. Kids love it. Galland grins, genuine. Children forgive history. They walk the line, Mustangs draw him like magnets. He pauses at old Betsy's kin, runs fingers along the wing, laminar smooth, memories bite. She owned us, fair fight. A shadow falls, Finnegan 49 approaches, airline captain now, Delta wings on lapel, gut softened by steak in suburbia. Kansas twang intact, Adolf. James, been a while. The trio stills, air thickens with contrails unseen. Galland extends hand. Captain no, Colonel. Retired, Finnegan's fine, flying 707s to Frankfurt. You? Eyes crinkle, age's mercy. Consulting, jets for the Bundesluftwaffe. Steinhoff chuckles, they trade barbs, easy as evasive turns. Then Finnegan nods to a bench under a hangar eave. They sit, beers cracked from a cooler, pale ale, fizzing amnesty. Ever go back? Finnegan asks, gaze distant. Rastenburg platform, that day. Galland sips, foam bitter. Every night. In dreams, steam hissing, train pulling away. Impossible, he said, and I saluted. He pulls the memo from his wallet, laminated now, relic. Kept this, your gift. Finnegan takes it, reverent. August 43. Changed everything. We pushed. You adapted too late, but damn, you saw it. Steinhoff leans in. We all did, down the chain. Analysts buried reports. Göring burned them. Truth was the first casualty. The bench creaks. Silence falls. Broken by a Mustang's prop cough, test spin, wind whipping. Galland watches blades blur, time folding. What if? The eternal pilot's curse. If he'd listened, one order, one pivot. Retrain for range, unleash the jets in 43. Schweinfurt holds, big weak stutters. The war drags but perhaps ends different. No beaches at Normandy, no bulge in snow. Finnegan nods, slow. Maybe, but denial's the devil we all flirt with. My side too. Vietnam whispers now. He claps Galland's shoulder firm. You didn't lose to us, you lost to the mirror. Mirror. The word lands, true as tracers. Galland stubs his cigar on the bench arm, embers dying. Acceptance comes slow, like fuel burn. I flew for the sky, not the swastika, but the blindness, that's the scar. Steinhoff rises. To scars, then. Glasses clink, beer to ghosts. Laughter returns, lighter. Finnegan sketches a quick vector on a napkin. Mustang arc over Ruhr. Next fly in, you ride shotgun? Galland's eyes spark. In that, I'd outrun my past. Twilight filters through leaded panes, bookshelves groaning under aviation tomes, Spitfire blueprints cheek by jowl with F-16 specs. Galland, 69, at his desk, maps unrolled, a half-built Model 262 in balsa. Arthritis knots his hands, but the pen flows. Final revisions, a lifetime's addendum. The phone jangles, Steinhoff, voice gravelly. Adolf, news, Finnegan's cancer, bad, asks for you. Galland pauses, sets the pen. The circle closes. I'll fly. Lufthansa, first class. Hang up. He rises, stiff to the window. Bavaria rolls green, unscarred. Below, a glider club silks blooming in thermals. August 43, the hinge. He replays it. Platform chill, Göring's bluster, the train's receding lights. One word unspoken. Why? Not rage, but regret. Soft now, like old leather. We paid in pilots, the world in fire, but survival's gift, time to teach. Lectures at the Air War College, warnings to young wings. See the math, hear the descent, or the sky turns. A knock. His son entering with tea. Father? The model nearly done. Galland smiles faint. Nearly, like us. He joins the boy, gluing a wing, steady hands, shared silence. Legacy, not victories but vigilance. Wheat whispers gold under October sun, headstones marching even rows. Finnegan's plot, fresh earth, flag folded crisp. Mourners thin, family, flyboys in leather jackets. Galland stands apart, greatcoat against the wind, Steinhoff at his side, both gray now but upright. The chaplain intones, ashes to ashes. A bugle wails, taps, notes drifting like chaff. Galland steps forward, places a P-38 pin on the mound, twin booms etched silver. For the impossible you flew. Back at the motel, a letter waits, Finnegan's last, scrawled shaky. Adolf, skies were ours because you showed the cost. No regrets, just thanks for the fight. Clear air ahead. James, Galland folds it, tucks beside the memo. Clear. At last. Dim lamplight, the Model 262 complete, perched on the shelf, guardian of what-ifs. Galland, 83, frail in armchair, oxygen mask hissing soft. Wife gone, son abroad, Steinhoff passed in 92, loyal to the end. A nurse adjusts the tube, he waves her off, pulls a notebook. Final entry, reflection on August 1943, the moment truth was outlawed, not by bombs but by blindness. Göring's laugh echoed our fall. I warned, we lost, but in warning, we endure. Wars end in skies, lessons in silence. Denial delays, but never denies the dawn. He closes the book, eyes on the window, stars pricking black. The sky listens now. To all, history remembers the victors, but it's written by the men who saw the truth too late. If you believe history's warnings still matter, subscribe and keep their stories alive.